Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brian Silva. I am the last executive director at Marriage Equality USA. And I'm not sad about it. It's a great way to leave a job. It's a great way to leave something that you love, because you know that the part that you love the most, which is the people, are going to be there for the rest of your life. And I think tonight is a big testament to that. On a personal note, I want to thank all of my family that is here. I want to especially thank my mom, Nancy, who has housed much marriage equality accoutrement over at her house in the East Bay. She puts me up every time I come out here. She's the inspiration of why social justice is important to me and why I do this for a living.
Tell us the importance of tonight's event.
Well, I think it's really important that we take a moment to acknowledge the work of hundreds and thousands of volunteers across the country to bring marriage equality to all 50 states. It's very rare that a grassroots organization is able to start out with a mission and truly be able to accomplish that.
Let me see. We know that Marriage Equality USA started around 1996, and then marriage equality really didn't get into the national spotlight until 2004. So what was Marriage Equality's activity from 96 to 2004?
So there was a lot of educating our own community. You know, when we first started, a lot of organizations told us it's not the right issue, it's not the right time, we shouldn't be talking about this, it's too controversial, and it was our job to push back and say, you know, we need to be doing this as well as the other things we're talking about. So educating our own community about the importance of why marriage matters. And then as we got farther and further along, and we started to pass legislation around domestic partnerships and civil unions and local and state pieces of legislation, all of a sudden, as you mentioned, it started to pick up steam, and then the national conversation really ignited. And it was because of volunteers in our organization and many others going out and being their authentic selves and sharing their story that made that happen.
So what happens to Marriage Equality USA from this point on?
So we have two major projects. We're working on a book project to record the stories of our volunteers and volunteer leaders. And we're also working with the One Archive at USC to archive the grassroots history of the marriage equality movement through our organization. And all of that will be donated to them and available for the general public and scholars to go back and see what role grassroots groups played in sustaining and igniting this movement for marriage equality.
What do you make of the current RFA laws that are being passed, and what should the proper response be?
I think that I think they're discriminatory. I think they're bigoted. I think there's no excuse for them, and I think we need to hold that line. There isn't a compromise on civil rights, whether it be on race or religion or gender identity or sexual orientation. And I think the proper response is to continue to fight back, to continue to educate, to continue to tell our stories, to elevate our transgender brothers and sisters to be the leaders in this fight for transgender non-discrimination as a big part of where this is going, and to make sure that we do not dehumanize ourselves and we don't dehumanize our community in this process, because we are just as worthy of the same protections as every other American, no more and no less.
What a joy it is to celebrate our 20th anniversary, these golden years of Marriage Equality USA, this mighty grassroots organization that could, and mark this milestone of the official end of this long campaign. The journey to justice ends with, as Mark pointed out, mission accomplished. Marriage Equality USA! Marriage Equality USA! Marriage Equality USA!
Okay, tell us about the importance of today's event.
Well, today we are celebrating the 20th anniversary of Marriage Equality USA, which is the grassroots organization that's been solely devoted to securing civil marriage from 1996 till now. And we are going to be closing our doors at the end of our 20th anniversary because the mission is complete. And there's, of course, much work to continue to be done. But this particular campaign that we've all grown old working on has come to a close. We have full civil marriage equality in all 50 states. So it is our happily ever after time.
Happy 20th Marriage Equality USA. You're old enough to vote. mean, I'm quite old enough to drink, but I won't tell the bartender. So let's all raise a glass. Happy 20th anniversary. Marriage Equality USA. Marriage Equality USA. Marriage Equality USA. I'll drink to that.
I'm with the Office of LGBTQ Affairs, the first in the nation to have an office at the county level. And we're about probably 2 months old now. We've centered our work around 4 main principles or 4 main work areas. First is to raise the visibility and knowledge of needs of the LGBTQ community. Second is to improve access to services and programs. And that may mean the creation of some new ones or an exploration of what else we could be doing to improve access and create that pipeline of services. I'd like to bring up our Congressmember, Mike Honda.
Thank you, Maribel, and it's great to be here and see some new faces and some familiar faces. So our community is getting together, right? And I just wanted to start out by thanking Santa Clara County and the whole county board of supervisors and Supervisor Ken Yeager, Dr. Yeager, for their leadership in establishing the Office of LGBTQ Affairs. This is the first county at the county level in the nation that serves the LGBTQ community. And Maribel and Ashley Scarborough are the 2 staff that are leading this historic office. And that should be fun. You know, it's good to be the first. And I'm proud that Santa Clara County is part of the 17th Congressional District, and also proud to have served here as a supervisor. And I want to thank Maribel for being here today and for moderating this morning's discussion, because it's a time to really reflect on how far we've all come as a society. And like our county, I'm proud to be a voice for the LGBTQ community in Congress. And as it was said before, in November, I founded the Congressional Transgender Equality Task Force because I believe that the transgender community needs a voice in Congress. Being a Japanese American, we all know that in '42 there was nobody that's had a voice for us, so that taught me to understand that having a voice in Congress is going to be critical. We know that violence against transgender people is disproportionately higher than that of violence against lesbian, gay, and bisexual people. From the Congressional Forum, by listening to the panels of full victims, survivors, activists, and experts, I introduced the first ever House resolution expressing support for transgender acceptance. We cannot have equality without acceptance. And so we have much work to do. The fact is that transgender people face a series of very unique issues. Trans students across the country often lack adequate access to athletics, student organizations, or proper facilities. Our housing, voting process, and military policies do not fully protect transgender individuals. Our healthcare system does not provide adequate transgender services and care. And our immigrant detention policies do often not create a safe and humane experience for transgender detainees. So we need to expand our work with local, state, and federal partners to address the needs of the transgender community. For over the 1 million transgender people in our nation, I'm here to say today, you do have a voice in Congress, and you can trust that when you feel voiceless, I will make sure that your voice is going to be heard in Congress. So today's discussion is likely the first event in the nation on how we can protect transgender students after the passage of discriminatory state laws. We are here today because our transgender students across the country deserve a welcoming environment in school.
So my name is Cal.
I'm Eli.
And we both work with the GSA network. At least the reason I'm coming up here is because, we've talked a little bit about making sure youth are included in this conversation, but I think it's also important to make sure youth are not only included but leading this conversation, because we know what we want in our schools, and we know, we know how to achieve that. And we've had experiences doing that, and we need support doing that. So my I guess my question is how, especially with the congressional committee, I believe, a task force that you're heading, how can we continue, how can we make sure youth voices are included in meetings so we, as trans students, get what we need?
Okay. All right. So it looks like they're looking for some students to add to the task force.
And then also, thank you for stepping forward.